Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here for our meditation support session group. And today we're focusing on two areas that many of you said were most important, and that was consistency in meditation practice and bringing mindfulness into daily life, whether at work, in relationships, or in those challenging situations that test us. So, what we'll do here is we'll have a short opening meditation, grounding, really. And I'll talk about the two topics for today, another short meditation, and then I'll open it up to your questions and insights. So, with that, let's start with a short grounding. So, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Just settling into your seat. Take a slow, steady breath in, and a long breath out. Feel your body supported by the chair or cushion beneath you. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. Nothing to change, nothing to fix. Just arriving here. And so let's come back together. One of the biggest challenges in meditation isn't the technique. It's simply showing up. Consistency doesn't mean sitting for long periods or doing it perfectly. And a lot of times I hear from students that, oh, I'm supposed to be doing these 20, 30-minute meditations, and my mind is wandering all the time. And I have all these distractions in my home, et cetera, et cetera. And the thing is, it is really about creating a rhythm that works for you. Okay. So that's what consistency is all about. So there's some things that we can do to help build that consistency. And so one of them is, and I usually say this all the time to new students, is to start small, right? So even 5 minutes a day is powerful. And short practices done daily are really more beneficial than the long sits done once in a while. So if you could take 5 minutes each day, that could make a huge difference. So it doesn't have to be 10, 20, 30 minutes. If you can devote yourself to 5 minutes a day, that would be terrific, right? Because we're making that dedication, right? So I'm going to do this 5 minutes, whether it's I get up in the morning or I'm going to do it at lunchtime, or I'm going to do it before I go to bed. So the other piece that we want to look at here to help us build is the same time, same place. I know we have different schedules and sometimes very busy schedules. Maybe we have children or other caretaking things we need to do. But if we take the same time, same place, right? We take that idea. What we want to do is anchor the practice to something you already do, whether it's your morning tea or coffee or brushing your teeth or bedtime, anytime really that you know that you can find that 5 minutes, right? We're going back to that 5 minutes where I can do this at the same time, same place every day. I know some of you are joining me on the 8:30 Central Time meditation sessions, and that's great. But that may not always work out for you, right? So you find a time. Maybe you're listening to my meditation later in the day or the next day or what have you. Maybe you're just setting a timer as well, whatever it is. And another thing you can do is we keep building how to build this consistency. What we're adding on is create a ritual for yourself. You can light a candle. You can ring a bell. As you can see, I have my bowl over here on the floor next to my Buddha statue. You could simply take 3 breaths before you begin. And what this does is that it signals to your mind and body it's meditation time, right? What I do is, I don't have them lit right now, but on my altar behind me, I do have small candles, and I light those. And I have a bowl sitting on the I don't know if you can see it, on the altar itself. It's a blue bowl, and I use that. But it just so happens I have the other bowl in the room with me for the last few days. And so you're creating that time. You're just like we did with our children, right? Or if you don't have children, you probably have heard this about children, is building that sleep routine. And remember that for yourself if you have trouble sleeping, but also creating that little ritual that you're sliding into your meditation time, right? So I have this ritual, I have the same time, same place, and now I'm going to do my 5 minutes at least a day, right? So another thing, and I recommend this, is tracking your practice. Why do I say track your practice? Now, those of you who are in the teacher training programs with me, the meditation, the foundations of meditation, the mindfulness meditation training, you know I ask you to keep a meditation log. What it is, it's a very simple journal. It's not a diary. It's just a journal. And you could use an app if you want, or you could put a check mark on a calendar. You can make it as simple as you want. What it is it's helping you to see your progress. And it's very encouraging when you can see your progress. Now, sometimes with the meditation logs, as I was talking about a little bit ago, is that what we do, and what I did in some of the trainings that I've had, is I had to log the time that I sat down. I had to log how many minutes I meditated for. And what did I notice about my meditation? That's about as simple as it needs to be, right? So that's what's important, is that you are seeing that you're doing it daily. Like, even if you have, like, I have a calendar here on the wall behind the monitor. And, if you saw your calendar and you saw, like, hey, I meditated all these days this month. Wow, what is that? Well, that gives you just this burst of happiness, and that you want to continue to do the meditation, right? Some of you are, in the challenge, or you've done some of the challenges with me before, and it's like, it's okay if you miss a day. You can always do 5 minutes, right? Even if it's later in the day, don't worry about it. And even if you don't get to it all, that's okay. Okay? But if you want accountability, and I'm going to say you want gentle accountability, meditating with a group, a partner, a teacher, I do one-on-ones, anyone who you can share your commitment with, right? Someone who supports you, that wants the best for you, so that you can sit down and meditate together. And, we have the meditation classes, we have these other different events, the Peaceful Mind Circle and other things. And maybe some of you can get together and meditate together at other times. Something to think about, right? Something to think about. So as we continue on how we're building the foundation for our consistency, the next piece is remembering compassion over perfection. And I was just saying this about missing a day doesn't mean you're a failure, right? It's just like in the meditation itself, like in Vipassana, when I say, well, just be kind to yourself if your mind has wandered off. Well, use the same idea with your practice. Be kind to yourself if you've wandered off from your practice. Each time that you return back to your practice, what you're doing is you're strengthening your practice. And that's important. Doing it with kindness and compassion and love for yourself, right? It's not like doing the laundry or doing the dishes, right? This is about our mental health. This is about our well-being. And this is where this next piece comes in, because it's to remember your why. Why am I wanting to meditate, right? And reflect on that deeper reason that you meditate. Is it for calm? Is it for clarity? Is it for healing? Is it for presence, right? So in my life, it was I wanted peace in my life. And that's what's carried me since 1980, all these many years in doing meditation since I was 16 years old, because I wanted peace within so badly, because my home life was certainly not that peaceful. At times it was, but then one parent, it was not peaceful. And by remembering that, everything that I've been through in my life, and I've had all sorts of things that have occurred to me in my life, it was always anchoring in my meditation, right? And remembering, I want peace. I want a sense of quiet and calm. And this is what brings you back to your meditation practice, and that you want it every day. I want this. It's just like Lay's potato chips. You can't eat just one. It's like, for me, it's like, I just can't meditate once, right? So just remember that consistency is not about pressure. It's about kindness. It really is. And every time you come back to the practice, you're choosing presence for yourself. That's what you're doing. Now let's look at the second theme, which is bringing mindfulness into everyday life, our daily life, right? Mindfulness doesn't stay on the cushion, right? It shows up in how you work, how you relate to others, and how you handle stress. And I know some of you have been using all the techniques of mindfulness to help you through stress and anxiety, but here's some other things that you can do. So if you're at work, and even at home, like I work from home primarily, right? You can pause for one conscious breath before opening your email or beginning a task. Just pause, take a deep breath, a mindful breath. And then if you start to feel overwhelmed, you can place your hand on your belly or your chest and your belly and take a grounding breath there, right? That's why I love that I have this here in my office since I moved into this room in November, is that I can turn around and I can sit on my cushion on the floor. But maybe you don't have that. When I was working, it was over 20 years ago, before we were even here in Madison, when we were still in Pittsburgh, I worked for a homeless shelter. And, if you've ever worked a nonprofit and something like that, it was a homeless men's shelter, and we had a food pantry, and there was just always something going on. It was always chaotic. And there happened to be a love seat in the ladies' room. And I would go in there and sit and take, some breaths to bring myself back to peace, because that was important to me, right? It's like, it's going back to, why do I do my practice, and how can I weave it into my everyday life? So that's some of the work tips that you can use, and certainly we can talk about more of that. And if you're watching this as the replay, you can certainly message and comment on in the classroom here, and then I can give you further answers as well. One more thing, work-wise. After a meeting, pause before rushing to the next thing. Just take one mindful breath to reset. And that's what I do. after I have these classes with you, before I start to, work on editing the video and that sort of thing, is like I just take a pause. I hang up and I just sit here and pause a moment and just to reset myself, right? So let's talk now about relationships. We all have relationships in one way or another, right? So what we could do here in bringing the mindfulness into everyday life is practice mindful listening, right? We're giving our full attention without planning our reply, right? A lot of times we're already planning what we want to say. But let's listen. Let's listen to what's being said. And then when irritation arises, notice your body signals. So we're dropping into the body, right? Do I have a tight jaw? Do I feel heat in the chest? Right? And so take a breath before speaking. Before you say anything, just take a breath, stop, and then speak. And then at the end of the day, reflect on one small moment of connection that you're grateful for. And what could that be? And yes, it's important to add gratitude into our lives. We talk about that all the time, gratitude journals and whatnot. But it is important to connect with one thing that you're grateful for. Let's talk about stressful situations now. So when stress arises, pause. Just pause and say to yourself, I like to put my hand on my heart. So you see me do that a lot because I like to do that. That's that, that tactile, just yes. And you could say to yourself, this is a moment of mindfulness. I'm noticing this, right? And let your breath be your anchor. Steady, right? Like a rope in the storm. We're here, breathing. And then you can also use the rain practice. And if you're not familiar with that, I do have that in the meditation library that's hosted on Momo Yoga. And the rain practice is recognize what is going on. Oh, wow, I'm not at peace, or I'm stressed, or what have you. And I'm not going to push it away. I'm going to allow it. That's the A of rain. I'm going to allow those feelings to be there, to be present. So important. And then the I is for investigate. So where am I feeling this? Maybe in my body. Am I tight in my jaw? Am I tight in my chest maybe? What could it be? What thoughts are running through my mind? Right? So just investigating what's going on, right? And then the final one, N, is for nurture. It's really meeting our experience with care. Like, what is it that I need? Maybe I just need a timeout. Maybe I need to take a sip of water, right? Maybe I just need to say, hey, it's okay. Right now, it's like this. Anything we can do to offer a little bit of kindness, maybe even doing a little bit of loving kindness towards ourselves, we can do that too. So how else can we bring some mindfulness? Well, we can have micro moments, like when we first take our first sip of tea or coffee or water, whatever it is, we can take a moment, be mindful of that. We can bring awareness to a few steps as you walk, right? Maybe moving from room to room, for instance. How about washing our hands? We can be present as we wash our hands, noticing the water, the scent. I have like lavender soap in the bathroom, and I think it's both in the bathroom and the kitchen. I used to have lemon in the kitchen, and just like really feeling that and the sensation of washing your hands. And see, when we take these small pauses, it's creating spaciousness for us. And it reminds us that mindfulness is not just something we do, it's how we live. Okay? Just how we live. So let's take a short time here to do a guided practice together to experience how mindfulness can be brought into daily life. So let's go ahead and find that comfortable position again, letting your eyes close or resting with a soft gaze. And take a deep breath in and out, letting your body settle. And so bring to mind a recent work, task, or responsibility that felt stressful. And then notice how your body feels as you recall it. Maybe there's tension, there's restlessness, pressure. So bringing that recent work item that felt stressful, bringing that to mind, and then dropping into the body how that felt. And now I ask you to imagine pausing in that moment. Okay, seeing yourself pausing in the moment, taking just one slow, steady breath before acting. And notice how even this single breath creates space. So now let's bring to mind a recent conversation with a loved one or a colleague, perhaps one that had tension. So again, we're going to notice what is arising in the body as we recall it. What are you feeling in the body? And then I invite you to imagine pausing, taking one breath before responding. Imagine listening more fully with openness and presence. And notice how that shifts the energy of the moment. And now finally, recall a moment of stress or challenge. And silently say to yourself, this is a moment of mindfulness. and feel your breath as an anchor in the storm, steady, supportive, always available. And so let's take one last deep breath in, a long breath out. And then when you're ready, gently open your eyes and carrying this awareness with you into your next task, your next conversation, or your next moment of challenge. And so I'd love to hear what you noticed in that practice or in what we've covered so far. And if you are watching this on the replay, you can do so in the comments. Okay, before we close, I invite you to choose 2 small commitments for this week. And the first one is going to be consistency intention. For example, I'll meditate for 5 minutes before bed, or I'll sit after my morning tea. So you're going to come up with a consistency intention. And then one mindfulness cue. So, for example, it could be something like I'll pause before sending a text. That's a good one, right? Or I'll take one mindful breath when I stop at a red light. How about that? So come up with some of those for yourself. If you like, you could share it here or you can share it in the classroom, which I totally encourage. That way we can support each other as we do this. So, friends, thank you so much for being with me. And just remember that consistency grows through compassion, not perfection. And mindfulness becomes real when we bring it into everyday life, right? Our work, our relationships, our challenges, and our joys as well, too. So as we close today, as I said, I thank you for being here. And let's just take 3 deep breaths together as we close. And just share this within as I share it with you. May I be present. May I be steady. May I bring mindfulness into my daily life. Thank you all for practicing together today. I really appreciate it. And so I did record this and I'll be doing some editing, but I'll post the recording and a handout for you in the classroom on the school community, our Peaceful Wellness Sangha on the school platform. So please feel free to share any reflections you may have had since, any questions that you may have as well. And then I look forward to connecting with you again, whether it's in the meditation or in something else that we have. We have some other things going on this week, so I hope you can join in. Thanks again, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.